How you doing? I am Mark, and I wanted to do a short review. Wait and see if anybody joins on. I posted to my Tumblr account and a few other things, so not really sure. But hey, what the hell? So I mentioned to everyone recently that I bought a new air compressor from Harbor Freight. Ta-da! Now this is the 4-gallon Fortress um, air compressor from Harbor Freight. It's pretty freaking awesome. And what I like about it, and just a quick rundown on those for those that don't understand compressors as much as a lot of other people do. This number right here, the SCFM, is how fast your tank will fill. All this other stuff doesn't always mean a lot, and the PSI doesn't mean a lot because a slow compressor can get up to 200 PSI. This number here is how quick it will refill and recharge that tank if you're using a nail gun or something like that. So this compressor charges faster than my old one that's huge, but it's got a motor that just kind of runs and runs and runs and runs. And then at the end of the day, it's finally, charged up to 120 PSI. So that's why I bought it. I got a pretty good deal on it. Here's a little bit of the specs on it and all that, and it says it is electric, 120 volt, 60 hertz, 14 amp, output quarter inch, 18 NPT, which is the thread for the air chuck and thing. Air pressure shuts off at 200 psi, restarts at 160 psi, which is that like thermostat for it. It's a 4-gallon and it has 4.0 SCFM at 90 psi, which means that it'll get it to 90 post haste. Sound level 80 dB. Not really using it in people's homes like some of the smaller compressors I've had to use. That doesn't kick on and scare small children. So it's a great um, air compressor. You all know me. I've become quite favorable to Harbor Freight and their tools. This is the first Fortress um, a pneumatic or air tool that I've bought from them. Seems to be doing everything it's advertised to do. I think I paid a little over 200 with tax, and I'm a member, whatever they call that. So I get a little bit better discount here and there, and they have a smaller one that's 2-gallon tank, um, but it doesn't have the 4 SCFM, and that's the important thing. Like I have a Cobalt that's almost 4, and it works great. But it's bigger, and I can't just pick it up with one hand and carry it around a house or something like that on the outside and do the things I like doing with an air compressor. So right now it's in my shop. I might put my old Cobalt in the shop and use this one in my shed where I keep all my tools for working around the house, lawnmowers and stuff. So it's a pretty nice investment. I'm really happy with it. Not sure on the warranty because I didn't really look into the warranty too much. I think it's a standard, 90-day warranty. They didn't offer like an extended one, but that's okay. I've rebuilt many a compressors, and so it's not the end of the world. There's not that much that can go wrong with it. It either spins or it doesn't. So there's that. So I just wanted to do that. I was going to try to do this out in my shop to where I could run it and you could hear it and shoot some nails and stuff with it because that's what it's for, nail guns. But I don't have Wi-Fi there, and I can't um, do live on my phone yet with my cellular plan because I don't have enough views yet or subscribers. But hey, one day at a time. So it's going pretty good. I'm pretty happy about it. but I wanted to do a little better review, but there's always a ton of reviews. So my thoughts, I guess, why I, as a contractor, bought the tool is because it's it's Harbor Freight. So if there is a warranty or if I buy an extended warranty, I can take it back, wham bam, done and done. On air tools, I don't think their warranty's as nice as their 20-volt Hercules tools, which have the 5-year warranty and a 3-year battery warranty. And when they quit working, you just walk in at lunch, get a new tool, and then go eat and go back to work. But it's really well made. It's thought out really nicely. I was going to print some more pictures, but I chose not to. Let's get back over here. But you can wrap the cord around on this side here. There's like a couple little things that hold it out. It's pretty light. The handle is balanced to where you can pick it up and just carry it and not walk funny. So I'm happy with that. And main thing was just the way it's built and put together. It's got a nice, I guess we'll call it a roll cage on it. The motor is fairly quiet. It's smooth when I turned it on. It's not clunking or making weird noises. It's got a nice, almost like a powder coat paint on it. Feels real durable. I'm not too concerned about that, but it is nice to know that it's got decent paint. The handle's nice. It's not like the old foam ones that just fall apart almost immediately. I like the valve on the bottom to where it just turns. You don't have to get a wrench, and then that way you can bleed the tank. And if you hold it right, it'll blow all the water out of it so it doesn't rust up inside. Awesome feature. Um, in Arizona, I'm not too worried all the time about a water filter on the inline because it's just normally really arid and dry around here. So I've never had too much problem with that. I mean, after 8-9 years, my one tank started sloshed around. I drained it. It's fine. So I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, I've only used it 2 or 3 times right now. It charges up super fast. I put air in all of my tires on my truck, which have 85 PSI in each one of them. They were all down to 35 or whatever they seem to magically drop down to. And I was able to do all 4 of them up almost 50 pounds on each one pretty damn quick, a lot quicker than my other compressors I've had. I had a DeWalt 4-gallon one that just made a lot of noise and never seemed to get the job done. And then I had to put air in my dump trailer tires, and those things have to be 89 minimum, 85 pounds minimum, and they're 10 ply big tires, and it aired them up really fast. Also, I was impressed. I wasn't sitting out there in the parking lot all day like this little ones you plug into your cigarette lighter, which people are probably going, "What's that?" But anyway, your power plug, which used to be a cigarette lighter, those things will run all day and never get over 30, 40 pounds because they're toys. So all in all, if you're looking for a good, lightweight, easy to carry compressor, if you're old like me and you don't like struggling around, I can lift it in and out of my back of my truck really super easy. Works great. Like I said, it's not as noisy as 80 decibels sounds bad, but it's not really. I think in the realm of, unless you get an oil compressor that has oil in there, they're a little quieter. And then the ones with the fan belt, and they have a different kind of motor, and everything's different. Those are nice and quiet. But all in all, I can't carry one of those around from job to job to job to job. So there's that on this. Now, I was listening to some podcasts because that's what I do all the time. The economy is still shit. Um, and I wanted to go off a little bit on a side note. I was hoping some people would show up. I think I should have done this at 4 like I was thinking, but I made it for 3:30, and just to where I could have time in case it gave me some BS because I'm always screwing up technology. So I wanted to talk a little bit about something that happened recently. We own a business, me and my wife, and you know, we do floor covering and on big projects like going into your home and tearing out all of your tile flooring, moving all of your furniture, and doing all this usually takes over a week, and there's a lot of moving parts. So back in May, I had measured these people's house, and that's how booked up we are. We're almost 3 months out as far as getting the installers to the job to do it. Most people don't mind waiting because in our area, all the contractors are booked up 3 to 5 months, depending on their trade. So that wasn't too bad. I talked to them, measured it all up, and there's a lot of decisions to be made. So when I'm measuring, besides just drawing their house, top down architectural kind of drawing of their house, um, it's like, well, what do you want us to do with this? What do you want us to do with that? If there's unforeseen things, it's going to cost you more because I don't know what's underneath your ceramic tile. You'd think it's a nice floor, but 10 years ago when they laid that, they might have built it up with thin set, and now we can't do that anymore because of specs and codes. So, you know, when you chip it all out, it's wavy, and they're like, oh yeah, yeah, we get it. So I had mentioned to him, I said, well, we're going to take your baseboard off and put it back on, and she's like, oh, okay. And I said, it can be painted, you can get new, you can do whatever you want, you can have it provided there. And then when we go out there, we'll take off your old, throw it out, and put on the new. There's a little bit more of a charge for that because we're cutting each piece now instead of just nailing it back on. All this stuff gets discussed. All these moving parts. Do you want us to tear it out dust free with all this expensive equipment, or do you want to just leave town for a week and then we'll demo all your tile and try to keep the dust to a minimum? And so all this gets said, and then I leave, I figure it all out, and I hand that estimate to my wife, who then enters it all into the computer. And we line item everything is itemized, you know, like how many tubes of, master weld urethane glue do we need for the job? How many pieces of quarter round for the cabinets, and if it's going to match the cabinets or the laminate flooring. It's like all of it gets, so it's usually 2-3 pages on an estimate. And so everything gets put in there, and then that's it, and then we're just in a holding pattern. And I think it took almost a month for their tile to come in because it was huge, 24 by 48-inch pieces and everything. So that was a little more specialty than normal, I guess I would say. So what ended up happening is my wife went out of town, and then I think in June, he had brought by a gallon of paint and said, here you go, here's the paint we picked. So I'm hearing this we and all that, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, fine, awesome. I take it to my shop, I put it down, and I forget about it, because it's like another month and a half before we show up. So then I'm thinking in my head as the job's being installed, it's like I called the installer and I go, hey, you got all the baseboard taken out yet? And he's like, no, not yet. And I go, okay, well, are you going to clean it up pretty good and don't damage it? And he goes, why? And I go, well, I think I'm supposed to paint that. So he's like, well, it's not on my work order that, we're putting, that I need to tell you, come and get it or anything like that. Cause his work order is the same as everything else. It's just got different lines showing. And he goes, it's not on there. So it's like, okay, well then don't worry about it. Then I look on the paperwork in the file going back to May, all the way back to May, to the one I hand wrote all the line items on it, and there's nothing about paint. So that's not a big deal because a lot of times people will talk about painting it, and then they'll go, well, we'll bill them or put it on the bill, and then they'll go, well, you know what? When we get back, we're having a painter show up, and he's going to paint the outside and part of the inside, and he'll do that for less money, and it's okay. I've had people call me up and say, hey, we're not going to have you paint that. We're going to have a carpenter put on all new oak base and stuff like that. Can you bring the paint back? So it's not like, to me, it's nothing. If it's not on the invoice, I don't do it because we're not in business to do shit for free. So I was like, well, okay. And then it gets all done, and then the homeowner emails because they're still out of town. They're like, "Hey, I thought you guys were going to paint the base." So then that's when, you know, my wife's like, "What the f?" And I'm like, "It's not on paperwork." And she goes, "Well, you had the base in your shop." And I go, "Yeah, I totally forgot that the base was in the shop. I forgot he even brought it." And and on top of that, I didn't remember anyone ever discussing I'm painting the base other than him going, "Here's your paint," which I have people come in and bring in paint, like I said, and then go, "Oh, change their mind, give it back," or "Here's a different color, use that." So it's fluid. Shit changes. So needless to say, because my wife likes running the tightest ship in the shipping business or the flooring business, um, we get into an argument. She's like, "Well, all you'd have had to do is call," and I'm like, "Well, I had a twitch in my brain thinking I should check with it, and I called the installer, and it's not on his paperwork." And she goes, "Why'd you call him?" And I go, "Well, just to see if he had it all taken out yet. Otherwise I don't call the installer. He just works. That's his job, and he's good at it." And so I was like, "So, well, I just called, and he said it wasn't on his paperwork." And she's like, "Well, it's none of his business." I go, "No, it is. If because he now asks, why are you asking?" So it kind of, I think you can see this where it's starting to snowball like this shit. Like us guys should see this fucking storm coming. So I was like, "Well, no, I had a twitch in the back of my head." And she goes, "Well, you have the paint in your shop." I go, "Well, my shop is, it's like a quarter mile that way, and I can walk to it." But I go, "I haven't been in it." He brought it by before we went to Wisconsin. We flew out the next day, and then we came back, and now you're in Wisconsin. You were in Wisconsin during the job getting installed, and I haven't been out in my shop at all. I mean, fuck would I be out there for? You know, and so on and on, just kind of, well, why, but why, but why? So then it turned into like a nuclear conflict. And, and so then 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 it got worse because she's like, "Why are you trying to blame this on me?" And I go, "Well, I didn't make the invoice. If it's not on the invoice, that's the guy. He should have said, 'Hey, I brought Mark paint.' Is that on the invoice? Hello, you're talking about, we go through every line on it and explain to the people what it is." And so it's like, where's is paint the base included with the removal and replacement of the base? And then she would have said no. She didn't say no. No one said anything, because if that conversation would have came up, then it would have been caught. See, it wouldn't have fell through the cracks. Now, my wife had a legitimate point when she said, "Well, you could have called and asked." And me being a guy, it's like, why would I call about a problem that doesn't exist? It's not on the paperwork. Big fucking deal. So it it started to snowball. I guess that would be the way to put it. It's snowball. And so it kind of went downhill from there. So she kept saying, why? And then as I'm trying to explain why, it this, tactical nuke goes off in this argument. And so then I try to deflect and go, "Well, if you'd have put it on the paperwork, I would have caught it." So needless to say, by the time I ended up losing the argument, because, well, that's what happens. Um, it's like, yes, I think when he came in, I should have said, "Hey, just a minute." But he dropped it off. I put it on the counter, and he says, "Okay, bye, see ya." People are in a hurry usually. I should have looked at their paperwork right then, and then I could have called my wife and said, "Hey, he's bringing me this paint. It's not on the paperwork." And then I could have dropped a nuclear bomb on her. Like, why isn't it on the paperwork? Now are we doing this for free? Am I supposed to paint 400 linear feet of base for nada? What the fuck? See, and then I could have justifiably yelling at her, but I couldn't because I didn't, which in the male mind, I'm thinking, why would I? There's no issue. I mean, you don't call about a flat tire if you don't have one. So anyway, so it blew up. So then this morning it kind of resurfaced, and then there was another one, another nuke went off, and naturally, because I tried to equate a little bit of that problem to her side of the office, I'm an asshole now, which I totally get because I was born an asshole. And so I'm thinking, well, all I tried to do was deflect a little bit of this fucking blast from hitting me. So, it was more of an evasive maneuver, like, hey, what about you? Which most of you guys, if you've been with your spouse long enough, know that that's really stupid. So anyway, there it went. Now my big takeaway from all this is like, well, okay, it's understood. The people came in, they paid, they're going to have their painter do it since we never charged them for it because it wasn't on the paperwork. Um, they're just going to have their painter do it in a couple of months when they have some more work done in the house. Yes, it would have been better if we'd have done it at that time, but whatever. So it's kind of like a no harm, no foul. They didn't pay me for something we didn't do. I take them their base back and everything's good. We did everything else. There's a lot of money on the line, and they were reasonable people. They're like, that's people forget shit. Don't worry about it. Mark's a scatterbrain. I get it. I'm married to a scatterbrain myself. She say probably. I wasn't there. I took the day off. So um, that's kind of how it went down. And I'm thinking, okay, so we had a problem in business, which is what happens in business. Things go awry. Yes, most of the time it's my bad math. If she does something wrong, I never even know it because she corrects it before she even orders it. But most of the time, mine are very visible mistakes. But this one was kind of all the mistakes, more of a paper cut than actually like a knife fight. And then it all worked out. So it was like, she could have said, when are you going to stop forgetting shit? Which then I would have said, when will you stop yelling at me about me being an absent-minded fuck up? And then, so I'm thinking, my, her reaction, I guess is what I'm going to say to all the men out there is, why do you go nuclear on something that's, that, I don't know, insignificant in a way, really? I mean, it's a misdemeanor, not a criminal act. So, to me, she gets really mad like that, which is great because when she's yelling at the trucking company for fucking up, I like it. She can yell at them and they jump. But when it's me, I'm not the trucking company. We lived together for 30 plus years. So it's kind of like, I quit fighting with people and even wrestling because there's a point when I would snap and I would almost black out and I had hurt people in wrestling. I broke a guy's rib. So because I just go with it. I don't stop. I don't think. And so um, she gets that way and she sees red. And to me, it's like this argument of our life, which is not the end of the world, but it's like someone dropped a napkin and you got mad and you saw red and you got into a fight and now you're in prison for killing somebody over a fucking napkin. And this is where I kind of go with this. It's like, we are in a relationship. We've known each other since 1985 or 6 when Top Gun #1 came out. That was our first date. We went and watched Top Gun. So we've known each other that long. So it's like, do any of you, go off like that? I mean, this is a guy thing too. It's not just women do that because I've seen men, snap for no apparent reason. That's why there's wars in the world because people can't fucking stop. So, do it's almost like if people piss me off, then people piss me off. I will react to it with equal and opposite reactionary force. If someone I know and care about, like say one of my children, then I react differently. I still get upset. If it's someone like in my family, like my brother or my aunt or uncle or whatever like that, I'm going to really hold my tongue. And I would think that when it's your spouse, you should really, really hold your tongue, because this causes a lot of divorces. I mean, it's been, I don't know, 20 hours now, so I've calmed way down about it. But, to me, it's like, okay, so we were having an argument, and then you pulled out a gun. And so all I had was like this little knife. And it's like, here I'm in a gunfight, and I got this. Like, don't make me, like Kevin Costner with a spoon, and I don't know if it was Postman or something like that. It's like, don't make me use this. Yeah, it's the Postman where he's in the cabin laid up and stuff. So I've got this, and then I'm like trying to defend myself, and then the gun goes off, 2 or 3 times, and so I try to deflect that and push the person, and now I'm the bad guy for calling her a liar. And it's like, dude, this is called an argument. Learn how to do it. So my takeaway from this for the duration of this podcast live feed, that nobody's here. Fuck. But we really, to me, I classify everything. I break it down into very simple terms, and I would not, you know, get as mad at a person that's inside of my zone. I might sit there and argue with them, and really defend myself in words and verbiage and debate. And then if they're as they move back in these layers, then it's like, okay, there are people, you break into my house. I don't, whether I know you or not, I'm going to shoot you, and then figure it out later. And then, somebody breaks into my house and they go, dude, don't shoot, it's me. Then see, it's different. Things start calming down. Does that make sense? So my thought on this is like, we all have relationships, you know, and spouses and significant others and whatever. And I've seen a lot of things go south in my life because I had, a drunken stepfather that would go mad like that. And it's just crazy shit's flying around the house. The police are showing up, and all it's like every fucking night. So this is not how I think we should live as civilized people. And we need to learn to control our words and our mouth and our responses based on the level that person is at that you're communicating with. You know, not to say you can't get mad at your spouse, but you have to put it into context. If it's in like, if she was screaming at me because I had slept with her sister, that makes total fucking sense, because you're pretty sure no matter win, lose, or draw, that the relationship is over. So it gets a little more heated than you forgot to check the mail. Why am I always doing your job? And it's like, well, you could check it. You drive right past it every day, and then boom, people will escalate. It's like, fuck you, don't tell me what to do. I checked the mail, and then the nuclear device goes off. Boom, and everything's just shock and awe, and just burn it all to the ground. And you don't want to be that person. A lot of kids I met in scouting and stuff were like that. They go, I don't like camping with my dad because, I mess up on starting a fire and he just goes off. It's like, when are you going to learn, you dumb little shit? I've tried to tell you 20 times. So they don't learn. And family members, get hurt by this, and loved ones definitely. So anyway, I'm going to stop ranting on that. That was my 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 fun experience with nuclear war in my house. I will continue to calm down, and I'm sure over the weekend, tomorrow I got to go to work, so I can avoid, fallout and stuff. But I mean, she's the kind of person that I go, well, and what else bothered me is, and what else bothered me is, and it's like, okay, so it's not bad enough that you set off 2 tactical nukes in our living room um, during this conversation. But then in the morning, you said, I have an issue with this because you said that, and then set off another nuke that turned into a shitstorm. and I'm sure maybe there'll be another. I don't think she's pretty much out of tactical nukes. So we'll see. On another um, thought, I was measuring this guy's house today, and old army guy, cool as shit. Definitely having a hard time moving and walking. He's just like 70 some years old, 78, I think, or something like that. And he's had knee surgeries, both knees, both hips, shoulders are all banged up from the war and stuff like that, Vietnam and just life in general, kicks your ass. Um, and so we started talking about guns, and then I told him I'd gotten my wife a Taurus, the pink one, because if I got to shoot somebody, I'm going to use a pink gun. It's way too cool. But and so he goes, "Oh yeah, I have the Taurus Governor, which is a fucking cool gun." I was like, "Oh, I love those things. I always wanted to buy one, and every time I did a barter, I never ended up getting that. I wanted the titanium version of the Judge because it's really lightweight, because the Governor is pretty heavy." And so he brings it out, he shows me, and it's like, wow, that's really cool. And and then he's like, well, here, take it home, shoot some rounds through it. He gives me a box of ammo, and let me know if you want. And he goes, I need a couple small guns. I can't carry this heavy ass thing, around, and my wife can't carry it in her purse because she's older than him, or as old as him anyway. And I go, well, I got a Caltech. So I showed him my Caltech 380, and he's like, well, that's really light. And I said, well, you know what? You hold on to that and shoot some rounds through it, and then we'll get back together and maybe can work a deal. Now, I don't have two small guns. I have the other Caltech 380, which is the Bodyguard by M&P, or Smith & Wesson M&P, which I could throw in with the deal and trade him those two for that. But I'm not sure if I want to do that. I'm not a fan of the Caltech. I've carried it for years, and and I'm just not into carrying guns anymore unless I'm hiking or something or out in the wild. I don't. I don't. So it's like I could get rid of that. I could do that and maybe a few $100s. But then the Taurus Governor used, and this one's been around the block quite a few times. It's all scratched up. Probably could use rebluing and stuff on it. But 700 bucks. My two Caltechs together with a box of ammo or two would be five. So I think I'm gonna I'll talk to him about it, see what he wants. Because we're gonna be doing a lot of work in his house, so maybe I could paint his space for $600-700, and then and buy it for him, and then do a trade that way. But if he wants the Caltech, he could do that, and we can go start from there. Say if he wants 500. Any of you guys that are gun experts, let me know um, what you think. I think a nice operating Taurus Governor with the 410, a box of 410 shells, and then also shoot 45 used. I've seen them in really nice condition for 700-800. This one I would put at maybe 7, maybe 6, because it doesn't have a holster of the box or any of that. But 6, 7, I'm good with that. And my Caltech, I'm thinking I could push maybe 2, because it's got 2 clips and 3 or 4 boxes of ammo, and so I could give him $300 or $400. He doesn't seem to give a shit. He's like, take it, shoot it, we'll work it out. But I like being fair in transactions, so we'll see. I mean, I'm not going to bring it up to my wife because we just had a nuclear war. So, but she likes guns as much as I do. But for hiking, I think a Taurus Judge or the Governor with the 410 is a much better um, hiking gun, because in Arizona we have rattlesnakes. We have big ass rattlesnakes, and I have a 22 with snake shot. But the reality of a 22 with snake shots is you're just going to piss that snake off a lot. And it might die if you hit it right, but you got to stand close. A 410 shotgun, is just going to cut it in half. So I would feel better about that. And then out here in, like at the end of our property, we have a mountain lion that comes through once in a while. Now it's way at the back and it travels through a wash. So I've never seen it come close to our yard. But when you're hiking, we have the small bears, we have bobcats, we have mountain lions. So the four-legged predators, it would be nice. Now, a 410 shotgun is not going to do much with them, but you can put 45s in it, and that will definitely piss off, something, pretty good. I think I have a comment here from Lou Sassel. Thank you for all you do. Hey, you're totally welcome. I try hard. Of course, I suck at it. So, but if you have any comments, Lou, on gun ownership and bartering, let me know. Um, so that was my day. I started out really pissed, but then I met this awesome dude. That's like Army veteran, and I'm a sucker for veterans. I think I respect the shit out of them. I graduated high school in '73. At the end of '73 that year, and Vietnam was over, the draft was over, so I just took the family plan, got married, and had a bunch of kids. Um, so I was never in the military, but I respect them. Mainly, my brother was Army, my father was Army. I had a cousin that was Navy. My stepfather was an Army boxer. This guy was a boxer, so he's like, "That's awesome," So we really clicked, and super nice guy. I feel really bad for him because he can barely get up and walk around, and he's got a bad ticker. So after 2 hours, he's pretty well going back in, sitting down. So super, super nice guy. Had a great time talking with him, and I'm thinking, if he wants to Caltech and maybe $300-400, I think that would be a fair trade. If he wants to barter, I can do. I can get his baseboard and paint it and maybe give him a discount. We already do a 5% military discount, you know, in our business, but I can maybe sweeten the pot. But like I said, I'm not going to tell my wife about it just yet because the fallout is still settling, and I'm not sure what's going to happen um, for the rest of the day. Um, so I'm pretty well ranted out. Um, I did talk a little bit about the air compressor. I'm a fan of Harbor Freight tools. All the tools we buy nowadays in America are made in China. So what the hell? Harbor Freight are made in China too. There's a few companies that are made tools that are made in Germany and other parts here and there, but I can't buy Bosch tools anymore because, in case nobody's been paying attention, German economy and industrial is collapsing flat on its face, and BASF actually closed their giant plant and is moving it to China. Now, this plant, if you're not familiar with BASF, makes 20,000 different chemicals, mainly fertilizer, but all the off gassing and all the different products. So they make 20,000 different chemicals at that BASF plant. One of our customers, she was from Germany. She said she lived right next door to it. And the plant is actually as big as a small city of like where I live in Sierra Vista. It's 15, 20,000 people or more. It's huge. And they're closing it because they can't get enough natural gas because we blew up the pipeline. And so they just shut it down and are moving. So Germany and these sanctions and what we've done is really killing their economy. So I needed to buy a new Bosch demolition hammer, a 30-pound demo hammer, and we had a really nice Bosch one, but then it just decided to quit working. Well, so I went online. You can't get them. They're on back order. Lowe's, Home Depot, all the professional tool companies didn't have them. And then I went on Bosch online, their American division, and they don't even have them. They're just like, we don't know when we're going to have them again. So it's unfortunate to see that happen to a company like Bosch because they happen to be there. But Mercedes, they're all hurting really bad. Porsche, they're not admitting it, but their economy is lawn dart into the yard. Um, so um, and we as Americans have a almost have a way of doing this to ourselves. Like we got all mad because China, is actually trying to be like little brother and grow up, even though they're like 5,000 years older than us. But we treat them like a bastard stepchild. And so we sanction them and we won't sell them electronic things and parts or materials or whatever it is and chips. So they created the SMC or whatever it is. It's the Singapore microchip company, and they've just come out with the 7 nanometer, which is like getting really close to everything our companies can do. And they're putting it in a new phone that's going to garner probably 50 billion units a year. So the hurt is coming, and all that is because we wouldn't work with them. And yes, we're competitive jackasses and capitalist pigs, and I get that. But during the race to the moon, Russia was advancing more than we were. They were ahead of us. And competition is good because then we got all charged up and we're like, we're going to beat you. And it's just kind of like a race and yay. And we won. But if we would have worked with them, we would have got there both countries quicker. We'd have had that camaraderie and we wouldn't have hated each other. So I'm not a peacenik, but it's like, really, do we have to be at war with every motherfucker on the planet, especially China, where we get all of our shit, and Russia, who's a nuclear superpower, and they're trying to be cool about all this. So anyway, I won't rant about that because I think you all know my opinion of Russia being our ally since George Washington days. Um, and let's see, they were our ally during the Civil War, and they protected our ports so we didn't get invaded by Spain because we were being asshats, killing each other in the Civil War. Um, they've always been our ally, even in World War One and World War Two. And a lot of people go, "Yeah, but they were really assholes in World War Two." It's like, whatever. They lost 20 million people. We did not. So, you know, and then for some reason we just had to go, well, yeah, they were always our friend through high school, but now we hate him. Why? Did he sleep with your girlfriend or is this? No, I just don't like him because he's better looking than me. Whatever. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for tuning in, and for anybody that's going to watch this down the road, get the thumbs up going if it didn't suck completely. And I hope to see you the next time. I think I'm going to try to start these closer to 4 next time. And I'm still thinking I'll be able to do Tuesdays and Thursdays or Mondays and Thursdays. So let me know if something works for you better. I can't do it at night because then the wife gets home, the TV goes on, the dog starts running around, and the energy level goes up to here, unless we're fighting. So anyway, talk to you guys all later. Appreciate you being here and love you guys. Be prepared. Learn to read writing on the wall because things are getting bad. We don't know how bad, but if you listen to smart people that are way more articulate than me, they're saying the same thing. They can't pinpoint it because I don't think, no one can, but we're all smart enough to look at it and go, yeah, those are storm clouds. And I think I'm going to go in the tornado cellar until it blows over just in case. So talk to y'all later. Bye-bye. Oh yeah. Thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. Talk to you later.